Can we talk about Luther Burden going to the Chicago Bears with the in the second round, 7th pick in the second round, 39th overall. It's now Luther Burden, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and they drafted a really athletic move tight end in Colston Loveland as well. But again, Burden in that role, in that room with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, yet again makes this a really interesting trio of wide receivers in Chicago.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
May be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Man, my first thought when they took Burden is that, and we're not going to be breaking this down today necessarily, but wars are going to be fought on Dynasty Twitter this summer about these Bears wide receivers, you know, with and I mean the pass catchers with Colston Loveland in the mix too.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, look, they do eventually in the second round take Ozzie Trapilo, an offensive lineman, but I was, you know, for them to take Burden at the 7th pick in the second round, I did think like, are we, you know, could have used a lineman, could have used a back, you know, but they do get an offensive lineman at the 24th pick in the second round. But I will say this, my first instinct after thinking like, oh my God, we're going to get some wars on Dynasty Twitter.
Yeah.
Like this is like, man, this is exactly the coaching staff I wanted to see for Luther Burden. And it's specifically
Ben Johnson and the boys.
Antoine Randall, the wide receiver coach there, you know, that's the type of coach that Luther Burden needs, because if you just follow Antoine Randall's career, obviously we know him as a player. He was a guy who, you know, moved from quarterback to wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, again, eventually Washington. I actually grew up watching Randall because he was with Washington when I was like coming of age as a football fan. So I've seen a lot of him, and obviously as a player, but then as a coach, you know, he works under Bruce Arians, very player friendly, but very hard on his guys, pushes them.
Okay.
And then if you look at him last few years as the wide receivers coach in Detroit, I think number one, obviously they did a great job with Amon-Ra St. Brown, thinking about role and deployment and all that stuff. But beyond that, Randall is the guy who was a big part of getting Jameson Williams on track, right? Like, and had this breakout year last year in Detroit. Like, he's known as a guy that's going to, you know, demand the most out of his players, but also like empower them and push them.
Okay.
And to me, that's what Luther Burden needs. Like I said throughout the process, like he has some of the best flashes in this class, you know, and we had a whole rant about it, I think a couple of shows ago, where it's not about the touches or the Mickey Mouse routes or anything like that. It's about the inconsistency and the effort and all that stuff is the issue with him, because like I've seen the flashes of man coverage ability, 71.2% success rate versus man, even in small sample sizes. Like those are on film. You can find like him doing real deal receiver stuff. Work for it. I don't need to see his friggin' practice reps or none of that stuff. But I need to know, like, is he invested? Is he putting the effort into it? And I think Antoine Randall is going to demand that effort. He's going to push him. And he's going to hopefully, I mean, Burden, obviously this can be performative nonsense, but he did post, like, after falling out of the first round, like an Instagram story of him, like, already working out at midnight. Like, but I think, look, maybe I'm a huge dork, but I think that's, like, what I want to see out of this guy.
Sure.
So I think him getting with Randall is the first and foremost, before we start picking apart, like, who's going to line up where and what does this say about this guy and this, that, and the other, straight up, like Luther Burden landing with this coaching staff, and specifically Antoine Randall, who is clearly a coach on the rise. This is exactly what this guy needed.
Well, and again, to your point, Matt, you know, when we talk about Luther Burden, you can't get away from the fact that he just was amazingly underwhelming, going from high school to college, right? He was
specifically last year, his final year at Missouri,
right? His freshman year, he was good, you know. But again, there was just so much potential there. He was one of the top high school recruits in football, and he just never quite got there. And to your point, and this is what a lot of talent evaluators say, right, is that Luther Burden, when you just look at his best plays, if you were to take his top 25 plays of 2024, you're thinking this guy's a first round draft pick. This guy could be a top 10 pick.
And if you just watch his 2023 games,
you
don't even need to do any parsing. You're just like,
this guy can play.
Is this guy the best receiver in the country, you know?
But effort level was inconsistent. When you take all of his routes in totality there in 2024, I mean, there are some reps on there where you're like, man, is he the worst route runner in the world? Like, what's going on? It's just, it's just been inconsistent, right, when we're talking about Luther Burden.